Hello, everyone. This is John Burness talking to you all, and I am just here to talk about the inspiration and process of my newest work of music titled To Obtain a Waterfall, which I released under my pseudonym Athanasius Gray, which is my ambient moniker. So I will talk all about how it was made and why it was made. And before that, I just want to briefly explain why I'm doing this. From time to time, I will release these videos talking in detail about the process of how I made some of my works, because I feel this is a brilliant tool to combating AI and keeping your own artistic integrity. And I hope I can inspire people to do the same with this. And I'm, of course, in the line of thought that if you inspire just one person to do it, then that's it. That matters. That's the only thing that matters. So it all started with the guitar riff. And I know it's kind of a hot debate over whether or not somebody who makes music, should they start with the music first or the lyrics first? I'm in the school of thought that you should start with the lyrics, because if you make music to accompany the lyrics, especially music that follows a high order of getting it right, like pop music or radio music, there comes a point where it's so constrained to where there's a very good chance you'll compromise the message in its entirety. And I don't really believe in that. So I believe in the lyrics before the music. And this is totally subjective, and there's almost not a grain of authority in me saying that, as I've noticed the majority of brilliant composers and songwriters focus on the music first. Brian Wilson being one of them, Kurt Cobain being another one who strongly believed in putting the music first. So you take with that what you wish. But this one started with the guitar. So I came up with that guitar riff in that song right after I woke up in the morning. Sometimes as soon as I wake up, the first thing I do is pick up one of my guitars. And I generally come up with some of my best ideas doing that. And it has nothing to do with dreams. I don't dream guitar riffs in my head too often. It's not like a hypnagogia sort of thing. So I don't know why that is, but a lot of my best guitar riffs came right upon playing my guitar right after waking up. So within 10-15 minutes of waking up, I picked up my guitar and I came up with that riff that you hear throughout the song. Now, there's several approaches I could have gone about this. I could have done the Steve Reich route of phase shifting, which is playing the guitar riff once and making it loop and loop, but manipulating the loop as it goes on. But the problem is I've done that so much by now that I felt I've kind of ran myself dry in that regard. So I thought, why don't I just do something slightly different, even if it's not as novel as phase shifting? So what I did was sort of a John Bonham approach, who's the drummer of Led Zeppelin, which is, why don't I just play the guitar riff for 10, 15, 20 minutes, but never play it the exact same way twice. I think that's a very important musical practice, to play a guitar riff or any riff or lick, but never play it the same way twice. And I knew it could be done. I've done this before. So I started doing it. And the whole thing came out to about 15 minutes. And then as I was recording myself playing it, I decided as I went along to implement a sort of chordal chorus every 5 or 10 minutes of the recording. So that came completely by improvisation, that chorus that you hear. So that's the musical part of it. And now with the lyrics, it was definitely intentional to make the lyrics very minimal, no more than 4 or 5 lines. And the lyrics were entirely inspired structurally to kind of mimic the song Religious Experience, which is a Syd Barrett song, which almost everybody that makes this kind of music was influenced by Syd Barrett at some point. So if you want to know where sort of the structure of the lyrics from Waterfall came from, I recommend you check out the song Religious Experience. So I knew I wanted to make something with only 4 or 5 lines and just make it repeat throughout the song. And I decided I was going to do something about writer's block, because there's so many creative ways you can even describe writer's block, as paradoxical as that sounds. And I finished the lyrics within 5 or 10 minutes of writing it, and I did some editing and made sure that it was worded perfectly before ever hitting the record button so I could perform it myself. And so that's really just the lyrics. I wanted to do something of a typical poem of 1 stanza, so deliberately something very minimal, and something kind of similar in essence to a Religious Experience. So song-wise, that was the biggest inspiration behind that. And with the song title was actually inspired by an excerpt I was reading when I was doing my research for it, for a writer's block. And I came across this excerpt from Gustav Flaubert in a letter he wrote. And I'm going to read the entire excerpt. My novel is going very badly for the moment. The fact added to the dreams of which I have heard. Of Comamin, a friend of 25 years standing, of Giovanni, and then all the rest, but that will pass. If you don't know what it is to stay a whole day with your head in your hands, trying to squeeze your unfortunate brain so as to find a word, ideas come very easily to you, incessantly, like a stream. With me, it is a tiny thread of water. Hard labor at art is necessary for me before obtaining a waterfall. Ah, I certainly know the agonies of style. So did you get the inspiration in that excerpt? I will do it again. Hard labor at art is necessary for me before obtaining a waterfall. So that's how I got the title for this thing. And since people get confused about guitar tunings, the tuning is just a half step down standard, which I love playing classical guitar with that tuning. It reminds me of that album Electric Tears by Buckethead, which I still listen to a lot in my spare time. I have since middle school. And then I combined all these things together, all these ideas, and the whole thing was done within an hour. It was a very quick, swift, easy project for me to complete, I must say. And yeah, that's pretty much the story of how I composed To Obtain a Waterfall. I hope you found this insightful. I hope you were inspired by this, whether to make something or to explain something you did, because I do think this is something important for artists to do in the 21st century. The whole philosophy about not explaining your work, not explaining your art, I actually do think is the downfall of underground art. I almost don't blame the general public for not taking art seriously for that reason. So I think if you have people explaining their work in complete, unambiguous detail, people will take it more seriously. It's less pretentious to explain your work, not more pretentious, because it connects the person to their oeuvre. So yeah, that's just a brief overview. There's not really much to it. It's not a super long explication on how this was done. but I still hope you found this insightful. And this composition is out on YouTube and Bandcamp. This has been John Burness, and thank you. As they say in Hawaiian, meka mahalo, which means with gratitude.